Ja, guten Abend, meine Damen und Herren. Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry for changing into my limited English, but I do it because of our guests. And very much welcome in our office. We call it Preparation Office for a project which has a title Vertigo of Reality, Schwindel der Wirklichkeit. A project which will run the whole year and end up in an exhibition project from September to December in this Academy of the Arts. The third body is the title of this talk, related to a project or to a dialogue Koffi Kôkô and me developed for some years, and to a choreographic project. Susanne Linke, very much welcome, and Koffi Kôkô will prepare for October 2014. The third body is a provocation in some way. It means that beside the body of the physics, our nature, and the body of the memories, so our social education and techniques which are learning, that there is a third body, a body of communication, a body of the spiritual experience. And taking up this idea, the Buddhist Tibetan Center proposed a dialogue between the Rinpoche, Ringu Tulku Rinpoche, I hope I pronounce it well, and Koffi Kôkô in this preparation office. I'm very, very proud and very happy that you took your time to come here to the Academy and to enter into this dialogue. Both of you are in a very open-minded situation. You have, beside your spiritual learnings and education, also an academic education. So you are dealing in your understanding of the Buddhistic life and the Buddhistic ideas, also in dialogue with neurophysiologies, with modern sciences, with the arts, and this is creating you, or bringing you here as a wonderful partner for a dialogue. Koffi Kôkô, coming from Benin, living between Benin and Paris, and between two concepts of culture, is a dancer and choreographer, and beside of that, a priest in the mystic rituals and religions of West Africa. A very high priest, Dano, which is probably a little bit similar to the Rinpoche in the spiritual learning and the spiritual introduction into the knowledge of your religions. So, very short, this is an introduction. It's your platform, and I start with a simple question, or a simple question to you. What is the concept of the body in your Tibetan Buddhist tradition? How could you define the body? And after that, Koffi Kôkô, the concept of the body in your cultural, from your cultural background. I hope you agree if Rinpoche is starting. You have your
mic. Body. First, I must thank for giving me this opportunity to come to this prestigious institution and participate in this dialogue on third body. We have been doing some interreligious dialogues organized by Bodhichaya for now several years. And whenever I come to Berlin, we organize a small discussion between different religious priests or teachers or learned people. And we found it very useful and very enlightening because I think it is very important to learn from each other. And that is, I think, is one of the most important ways to bring harmony and understanding between different religions, different cultures and peoples. And I'm very, very happy this time that I have this opportunity to meet somebody from Africa, because so far I have never met one. This subject of third body is something I have never heard before too. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And about the concept of body in Buddhist traditions, especially the Tibetan Buddhist traditions, we have quite complicated, actually, concept of the body. Generally, a body is regarded as something, an aggregate, something that's, because from Buddhist point of view, everything is regarded as interdependent and dependently arising. So there is not one thing that is totally one or totally existing on its own. Yeah? So therefore everything is an interdependent thing. So a body, like everything else, is an aggregate, means many things coming together. But sometimes we also talk about the body. In Sanskrit is called kaya. So we have sometimes the concept of 3 kayas, 4 kayas, even sometimes 5 kayas, which is actually not necessarily that body is a physical body. Generally, when we talk about a person, we say that the person consists of mainly body, speech, and mind. The body is generally our, like, the physical body, and then the speech is, our speech, but not just the spoken words. You can say more or less the memories, the concepts, what goes on. That's called speech. And then the mind, and mind is the thoughts, but also mainly the awareness, with which we can, the consciousness. So these 3 things are not very easily it's not easy to totally separate them because they are also regarded as interdependent. And so therefore, whenever there is a being or a person, there is a body also. Like when we are alive, we have this body. When we are dreaming, we have the dream body, which is not exactly the same as we have now, but it is also a body, and we feel there is a body. So that's the dream body. And when we die, then they say we have part of body. We have also a feeling of form or something that we can connect with ourselves, and we say, this is me, and so that's the body. And so therefore this body, speech, and mind that we have now, this, from Buddhist point of view, because we are not able to see it completely purely. So therefore, we have a deluded state of mind, a deluded kind of body, speech, and mind. And so therefore, when we can purify them, or when we, when we train them, or when we can bring out the pure essence of our body, speech, and mind, then this is how we talk about the three kayas. The three kayas happens when we purify our body, speech, and mind. And that's what sometimes we call enlightened. Enlightened. So therefore, there is the training or the practice of a Buddhist, especially of the Mahayana Buddhist or the Tibetan Vajrayana Buddhist, is to work on this purification of body, speech, and mind, and then attain the three kayas, or sometimes four kayas, because the four kayas, we say four kayas because these three kayas, or the three bodies, are not really separate. And so to understand or to clearly experience that these three are not separate but one is actually the fourth kaya. So that's kind of the, I think in short, probably the Buddhist way of looking at the body.
Thank you very much for this very concentrated description and idea. And I just ask Koffi to talk about. We will. He will do it in French, and we will try to translate from French into English. Yeah.
Hello. No, it works. This work? Yes. See. Yes. Of course.
Vous pouvez parler français ou anglais comme vous voulez. Je suis là pour traduire.
No, you can talk in English.
Yeah. Comme vous voulez.
Oui, quand c'est difficile pour moi, je le dis en français.
D'accord. Mm-hmm. Super.
I say also thanks for everybody to be there, and thanks for Rinpoche to be there. Welcome, and I am more happy because I think is like he say is the first time he meet the one people from Africa, and I am very happy and honest to bring this, to live these events who created by you and the Center of Buddhism in Berlin. Because most of the time they are the African who is Buddhist. But I think Africa is too far, like you say, is too far for the Tibetan, and to think about Africa. But we, maybe me, because also I travel a lot, and then I try to research the different kind of spirituality. I discover the Buddhism in Europe, because I used to have many friends who is Buddhist, and then also I participate in a different ceremony of the Buddhism, when one karma or karma is events, and I cannot imagine to be there with one Rinpoche, because was one of my questions is to ask to you, but you respond this before me. This is good. I just want to say, to ask if in the Buddhism, in Tibet, the people know some place who is Africa.
Did people in Tibet know that there was some place called Africa?
Yeah, is the question. Was my question. I want to say, to ask you, if you permit, because in my life I am always in research to find what is the way of the life who can open more the mind of the human beings, and this bring me to, of course, to research in a different obedience, different religion, different philosophy, to try to understand if we, the human beings in this world, sometimes, if they have something common. And I am very happy because sometimes now where I am now, after my research, I think all the people in the world research the same things. the same things, and these things is around, I think, the body. The body, like you say before, is the body when you dead. When you dead. Because I think in the mind of the human beings who born one day, until this day start, when he started to reflect, until this day he started to ask himself, when is going to be the end? When is going to be the end, the death? When he going to leave? And then this reflect, I think, many things in our society now, because now we cannot separate the society. We make the globalization, we make all the things, but now everybody have in the world have the same information they can have. And I get this chance, the chance to be a dancer, to use my body plus my knowledge, mes enseignements, my teachings, and to follow, don't be afraid about what is different and what I don't understand, what I don't know. I don't be afraid about this, but to approach this like a child who wants to know something more. And the body, because about my work, the first body, the second, and the third body, for me, I have really, comment dire, I used to have, je l'ai vécu, je l'ai vécu vraiment dans mon corps et dans mon esprit.
He lived these experiences really in his body and in his mind.
And I think, of course, like I am right with you when you say we cannot separate the first to the, but I want to say, of course, now for me is right what you say, and then I can understand this when you say this, but to make the step, I think the human beings who choice, because it's a choice, because there are certain people who don't want to know what is the first, second, third body is a choice. We come to meet in our way, And then this have, in my culture, in my religion, have the step. 1, 2, 3, to understand all, and then after, when you live with the 3, then you can you arrive, but we never arrive until when we still in the life, we research, but you can understand the way of these 3 body.
I just want to go back to the relationship between body and writing text, because when we talked before, we have to discover this, that until the 19th century, the African culture didn't have a text culture, and that the library of the culture became the body, with the rituals, with the knowledge of movement, with the memory, the oral memory of chants, of singing, and so on. And talking for our culture in Germany or in Europe, this is a text-based culture with a very problematic relationship to the body, I think. Just to bring the question to you, because you have all these different languages, like the Sanskrit, old languages, which are also the base of our language. What is? How do you relate this, the text, the literature, which survives 2,500 years, a huge development of knowledge in the text, and the relationship of the body to that?
I think first I should answer the question he made about whether Tibetans knew about Africa before. Tibetans didn't know much about Africa, I think. Not only about Africa, but for a long time, they didn't know anything about the Europe and America also. Even very lately, even in like 1950s, or even when Tibet first got opened after Chinese occupation, this Cultural Revolution, I'm told that one of the Tibetans was from distant camp to Lhasa. And one Lama went there with some of his Western students. And this one Tibetan was coming up on the stairs. He was carrying something in his hands. And then he saw this Western man coming from this side. And then he looked at that and he said, Om Benza Satong, and dropped everything. Om Benza Satong is kind of a mantra, it's a mantra. So he was so astonished to see somebody, totally kind of white and yellow and with blue and green eyes and, totally red and, yellow hair. I think if they saw an African, then they would probably faint. but there is one thing, one story. You know, there was a great Indian master who came to Tibet to bring Buddhism into Tibet. And very strong master with lots of magics and things like that. And it is said that when he left Tibet, he said that I am now going to a different place, and this is a place where there are rakshasas. That's simple, you know, and simple, a very kind of wrathful people, black, curly hairs, and very tough and rough. And I'm going to go there and teach them. And this place is when you go across the ocean after India, after Sri Lanka, to the southwest, southwest of India. And then it is said that he rode a horse, kind of, who can fly, and went. And then those Tibetans who had some meditation stabilities were looking where he has. So they saw that now he has arrived Sri Lanka. And then after some time, then he flew from Sri Lanka, and then he arrived this place. So they had some idea that there are some people who are black and curly hairs, and but they thought it was very, very far. Now, that's the question. Now about the body of literature. I think it was for a long time, I think in India also, it was, the teachings were not written down. The Vedas were memorized, and it was not even allowed to be written down. They had to, because they said that if you write it down, then it will be degenerated. So then, therefore, it was passed on from father to son and things like that, and that's why the priest caste came up in India. In the beginning, during the Buddha's time also, the teachings were not written down. Although there was a possibility to write down, but they didn't write down because it was not considered right to write it down. So it was passed on from, what we call mouth to ear. Mouth to ear. And so therefore, it went on for a few centuries. And then only later on, they started to write down. And so then, of course, it became many volumes. And the Tibetans also, before Buddhism came, did not have much written down. So they also wanted to write down. So therefore, they made especially, grammars and also the written form of Tibetan in order to translate these wisdom texts or treasures of literature from Sanskrit and other Indian languages into Tibetan. And then they translated lots of literature from India into Tibet, but they also made it very kind of important and essential, that these written forms are not just passed on as like book, to, like nowadays. Every written form, text, has to be read out by somebody, and then passed on to the others. Other explained, so therefore it's still there. It's still the tradition of what we call reading transmission, explanation transmission, and things like that. So there is a transmission system of, that it has to be passed on from one generation to the another. So without that, it's not, not good or not allowed to read even some of the things. Now these texts, of course, these are regarded as very important. These texts are regarded very important because this enshrines the teachings. So these are like, we call them sung, like we talk about three sacred things, like sacred, what can you say, reminders or sacred objects in Buddhism. The most sacred, we say, is the teachings, the books, because this enshrines the understandings and thoughts and the experience of the masters. So it is even often said that if you have a Buddha image, a statue of a Buddha, you cannot put that statue of Buddha on the teaching book of a Buddha. The book is more important than the statue. So therefore, this the representation of the body is the statue. The representation of the speech is the scriptures, the books. And the representation of the mind is the stupas. We have designs of, strange designs of what we call stupas and chaitanyas and things like that, which is a kind of art form. It's of some kind of slightly different things, but in the round ones and things like that, which represents like the mind of the body. Buddhas, for instance, 37 different qualities of the Buddha. So that's how it's represented. So the teachings are regarded as that. We talk about, like Buddhism, for instance, when we talk about Dharma, we say the Dharma is of two things. One is these teachings, the scriptures, and not only scriptures, but the lineage of teachings that's transmitted from one generation to another. And another is the experience of that. So once you read those things, study those things, and then you actually practice that and integrate it with your own experience. So that experience is the true Dharma. So these two things are the Dharma. So we said that if the Buddhism, if somebody wants to preserve the Buddhism, then you have to preserve these two things: the scriptures and the experience. That's how it's understood. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I think it's very interesting to hear from Koffi how you developed a vocabulary of movement, which is on the one hand very old, so from generation to generation, which you learned from one initiation to the other, and which is a oral treasure of your culture. And And this is giving a very specific value to the body as the container of this knowledge. Le corps comme le container, oui, la bibliothèque du savoir, en fait. Mm.
Yes, of course, because traditionally, Africa was also oral, the tradition oral. All the things pass by talking, by father to the son, or when is general by comment dire, les contes.
The stories.
The story. The story with the different metaphor and the singing, the song, and then after come the dance, who represent the memory also for the different kind of knowledge, like in animist religion, they are not until now. Of course, the people going to write, they try to write, but about the history, who is very sad for me, because in this time the people who can write is about they go in a Catholic side, because they learn to write from the Catholic school, and the missionary who teach them how to write in this time. But our écriture before was the bas-relief. We make the dessin like the Egyptian. We make the language of the bas-relief.
They were sculpted. Yes, yeah. They were sculpted in the in the relief style.
To explain certain moment, certain knowledge to pass by generation to generation, but most of the time is oralité, is from singing, from the dance, and from the music, because all our prayer you can sing and dance and drumming. It's for this most of the time when we are in the ceremony for different spirit, different. The spirit represent the different energy we use to cross or to live in our life. Yes, of course. Sometimes I can understand, like the European people who don't have so much any nature anymore. You know, in where they live is not enough. But when you live in a certain place where it's not too much. I don't talk about the big town who is like or the copy of all the big town. But when you live in the village and in like my big village, Wida, you can feel certain energy from the nature, from comment dire, the bush, no? From the bush, from the air, from the fire, from the earth, all this we celebrate it because we have each character of this element who is around us. Then to be, for me, I think what is spiritual is to be in harmony with all these elements, and sometimes to learn how to use it, because sometimes we have some principle of water, but in the front of this situation, you have to have the principle of the air, or the principle of the fire to find your way. And all this is more, of course, more deep and more present in our religion.
I think this is it's a very strong point in both concepts. The relationship between what we call the human body or the human being in relationship to everything what is surrounded by, and there is you are talking about the energies. You are giving names to these energies. These energies has different forms of movements, of body consciousness. And when we started this series of talks, we had quantum physicist here with a Buddhist background, and he talked about this relationship between the quantum physics and the Buddhist concept of is this of the nothing, or it's difficult to emptiness. Thank you. You see, big difference. But if you go into the material, everything is in movement, and I think you talked in the beginning. You talked about that, but to come back to the practice, I would be very interested to hear about the practice, because you are talking about the purification, and it's a lot of based on meditation, on specific movements. And in the African dance, you also knew something like meditation.
Yes.
Yeah.
The dance is one of very central meditation. when the body move, the density of the energy he compose, no, bring the meditation.
And this would be very interesting to talk about the direction. What is the vision which is behind? You know, so the emptiness is a process which is related to the practice, and this meditation is also related to a practice and a vision of human being. And probably you can talk a little bit about that, or I'm not probably clear enough.
So I'll talk about just whatever I got from you. The first, when we talk about the emptiness, that's you can say the looking at the view, how you see things, what is the to understand how the things are, so that's, you can say philosophy if you like. You can say sometimes we call it a view, the way you understand the way things are, it's the truth, the reality. So from Buddhist point of view, there are three things, three trainings we call it, three trainings. That's the path, like to work on your, say, like purification we talked about, transformation, if you want to say, how you can, you can change for better, when you can transform yourself, how you can, and this, the actual meaning of transformation or enlightenment or realization, we call it sometimes. Realization is able to directly experience the way we actually are. So that's the purpose. And the purpose is not to become something totally different from what we are, but to actually realize the way we actually are. And that's, from Buddhist point of view, the problem is, we call it ignorance, that we do not know what we actually are. We do not know how the things really are in its natural state. So if we completely come to realize the way we are and the way the things are, then there will be no delusion and there will be no confusion. And then we will have no more need to, we will have complete peace with ourselves, and everything will be in harmony, and everything will be in peace. So therefore we can be free from any disturbances and any agitations, and so therefore it's a final peace, and therefore when our mind becomes peaceful and completely clear, then naturally all the positive qualities of ourselves our mind, our body, our speech becomes naturally kind of awakened. That's the understanding. So all the positive qualities of our mind, which are described in 80 different things, positive qualities of our speech, like 60 different qualities of our body, which is sometimes called 30 to 80. All these things becomes vibrant or awakened. Now, in order to do that, how to train ourselves, then we talk about basically three trainings. Although sometimes Buddha talked about eightfold path, eightfold path, but eightfold path can be kind of boiled down to three. So out of these three, the first one is what we call wisdom. And that wisdom is to see the things as they really are. So that's the wisdom. So here, everything is interdependent, independently arising, and therefore it's empty. When we say emptiness, it's not like there's nothing. It's that everything that is there, everything that we can think about. It's not only everything that's kind of existing, but everything that we think about is dependently arising. So when we say dependently, it's not that there is one thing there, concrete, there's another there, and there's just like kind of like two things like this, but like right and left. So if there is no right, there is no left. We say this is left because of the right. We say it's right because of the left. So so that's interdependent. That's dependent. So in this way, everything, everything that's there in the world, everything that's are like that. So therefore, we call it the philosophy of emptiness, because there's no one thing which is totally kind of independent and totally existing on its own. Everything is existing interdependently. So that, like that, the way how we see things. Like for instance, these elements, 4 elements and 5 elements. Elements are also like interdependent. So unless all the 4 elements are there, the things don't live. Nothing can really function without the 4 elements, because there needs to be, the water element, which kind of put things together. There needs to be earth elements, which kind of makes the substance. There needs to be fire elements, which is, heating and, the air and putting kind of things alive. There needs to be air element, which makes things move and change and things like that. So unless these 4 elements are there in anything, the things cannot, it just disappears. It just dissolves. So the elements, 4 elements, are necessary for any living thing, for to be there. So therefore, in this way, any experience has to be this 4 elements and then harmony of the 4 elements. And like in a person also, if our elements are in harmony, then we are healthy. If it's a little bit unbalanced, we get sick. If it's really disbalanced, then we die. That's why it's. So therefore, the seeing the things, that's the first training, is to try to understand, try to see clearly, try to understand the way things are, and that's the wisdom training. And in order to, why should we, train in the wisdom, is because not only that we have to see how the things are, but also our actions, how we do what we do, has its effects. And if we do something, then it has its negative effect. We do some positive things, we have positive effect. So therefore, we need to know. That's also the wisdom, that what kind of actions we do, brings more positive and benefit to ourselves and others. What actions we do will bring harm and negative things for ourselves and others. So this is the second one, that we need to learn and live in that way. That is sometimes we call the discipline, training in the discipline, or sometimes ethics. That we learn to act in a way that is good for us now and good for others, and good for us in the long run and good for others. And so this is the second ethics. And then, now this is, the actions of not only mind, but mind, speech, and body. Now this then brings to the third training, that's the meditation. Yeah, the meditation is, because our mind is disturbed, mind is wild, and it doesn't do exactly, we want to do the right thing, but we don't do the right thing. Because certain emotions, certain habitual tendencies will make us do. So therefore, unless we make our mind really like tamed and supple and tangible, then it's very difficult for us. So therefore, we need to tame our mind, and we need to make our mind. Tame means like a tamed dog, So you come here, it will come. Go away, and it will go. And sleep, like this. So our mind is not like that, So that's the meditation, is to make our mind do what we want it to do. And for that, to work on our mind, we need meditation, we need understanding, but we also need, that there are two ways from Buddhist point of view. One is to use the meditation and learning to kind of settle the mind and clear the mind, and through mind we work on our body. So that if our mind is calm, then slowly body also calms, and then mind becomes in harmony, the body also becomes in harmony, so because it's interdependent. Another is to use the body, and use the body, and then through that train the mind. That's, we call yoga, for instance. The yogas and all kind of physical, there are lots of practices, breathing practices, we call tsalung practices, the working on our channels, working on our, breathing and all different kind of activities on the body exercises, body activities. And these are working through the body, then on our mind. Because if say like, in order to, if our mind needs to be, kind of free from too many thoughts, say like if you stop breathing, mind cannot think, for instance, So therefore, certain things, the way our body functions has an effect. So there's different channels and different, kind of things like that. So that affects our body. So then through that, so there the all different kinds of physical, So the training is both from the physical side to the mental side, and mental side to the physical side. So this is the general, in the practices and trainings, and then through that, it's step by step.
Thank you very much for Koffi. I like very much this idea that the dance is a meditation, but I want to give just 2 points which has been very fascinating for me. There was a team of the Arte television. They went with you to Ueda, and there is a forest where there is a specific god of a dance, and you waited some days just to enter the forest that you can do this dance. But the day when you came there, you couldn't do this dance because the god wasn't there. So that the energy, to talk in another language, that the energy which was connected to this dance is not just here at one moment and in a specific time you ask for him. And another point, in all your performances, which I have seen from Passage in the 80s until La Beauté du Diable, the recent production, there is a specific moment in the performance where you are becoming not an other, but the question of identity is changing tremendously. And you are in a dialogue with a other side of the existence, and this can be the past, it can be the future, or a transition to another mind. And I would like to ask you about the possibilities of the dance as a kind of meditation coming from the animist cultures.
Oui, ça je le dis en français. Moi je pense que...
Prends le micro.
Ah bon. Je pense que quand on travaille le corps et qu'à un moment donné, le corps nous révèle des secrets qui sont dans la mémoire du corps, qui nous amènent à comprendre certaines choses de nous-mêmes.
I think when we work with our body, there comes a moment when our bodies reveal to us the memory of what it has experienced.
Et des fois, cette révélation peut devenir une réflexion dans la vie. C'est-à-dire, ça monte dans la tête.
And sometimes this revelation can turn into a reflection. That's to say, it moves into the mind, it moves into the head, as he said.
Parce que pour chacun de nous, enfin, le bien et le mal n'est pas pareil.
Mm-hmm. That's because
c'est pas pareil.
Mm-hmm. That's because all of us don't experience good and bad in the same way.
Et quelqu'un peut faire du mal en pensant qu'il est en train de faire du bien.
Mm-hmm. Someone could do something bad thinking that he's actually doing something good.
Mais à un moment donné, quand il se rend compte dans son corps, parce que quand il y a une révélation dans le corps par rapport à certains entraînements, certains enseignements, quand il y a une révélation à travers le corps, et ça paraît beaucoup plus accessible à l'homme normal que nous sommes, je veux dire.
Because I'm not quite sure whether I actually understood what you were trying to get across. The revelation.
I think I say certain revelation,
Yeah.
you know, who come from the body and bring the reflection in the mind. Sometimes I arrive to give the question for the person, for the human beings, to say, this, is it good or is it bad? Because what is bad for the other is not is good for the other, and then and so and so. And in one of the piece, the last piece, when I say the beauty of devil, no, because most of the time when we say God, when we say God, the God represent like the energy who do everything's good. But what happens with all the catastrophe and all the war we have in the world? Is it the God who want these things, and the child who dead don't eat? Is it the God? No, I say no. The devil also have his beauty. Why? Because of course, this is a certain question for certain philosophy religious who is only monotheist and say this is good, this is not good, and give to, comment dire, l'alpha et omega of the situation. And for me, where I am now is a certain philosophy and certain kind of the spiritual way. Sometimes don't say the truth. Sometimes hide the truth and build.
En français, vous pouvez continuer en français.
Oui. Il y a certaines. Mon anglais est mauvais.
You're doing well.
Non, c'est pas un criticisme.
C'est pour clarifier. Ouais.
C'est-à-dire qu'il y a certaines philosophies, je veux dire spirituelles, religieuses, qui cachent comment approcher approcher à une harmonie en soi et qui le cache.
Okay. But there are certain, what he's trying to say is that there are certain spiritual and religious traditions that tend to hide rather what is actually sort of moving a person.
and then with the training, with the avec les trainings, les entraînements et avec les enseignements que l'on reçoit. Et des fois, c'est paradoxal. Et moi, je préfère que ce soit paradoxal pour que la réflexion se fait par soi-même.
Okay. And with the training and the teachings one receives, that creates paradox. And Koffi Kôkô actually prefers that there should be such paradox because it leads to people thinking for themselves, right?
Mais je veux continuer avec de parler avec des performances. Le moment où les énergies prennent la possession de ton corps, parce que le corps est un médium, une forme de médium. It means the body is a medium, is a media, that in a certain moment on stage or in the rituals, there is what we call possession, but better is that is a moment of transgression, of a opening, which is relating the body and the human being to all this context we talked about before.
Le micro.
Non, ces moments sont en fait, pour ne pas trop, ce sont des moments d'extase. Et c'est des moments où moi je dis que le troisième corps intervient.
Those are moments of ecstasy, and there are moments where I say that the third body intervenes.
Et c'est des moments, mais sans aucune... seulement qu'on arrive avec l'entraînement.
Those are moments you reach or you attain only through training.
Et parce que, par exemple, sur scène, et quand on part, il faut savoir revenir.
Because if you go on stage and you go this way, you have to find a way back.
Et si tu n'apprends pas à partir et à revenir, et alors là, ça devient pathologique.
Because if you don't learn how to go out and how to come back, then it becomes pathological. It becomes a very difficult situation.
Yes, because in the stage, the people cannot. The people are not there to leave something pathologic. They are there to live and to follow you in your dance. And in one part, we talk about the third body. What I call the third body is the body who acting like to simplify, who acting like with le surconscient. Le surconscient, the space inside and the space outside have the same harmony, and then all is like on the control.
Yeah, it was English, yes. So yeah, I can imagine that this is, I don't want to say that it's similar, but I think the deep knowledge in both concepts is, how I understand it, that the concept of the individuum, like we live it in the Western world for the moment, with all the capacities, does not have any chance for development if it's not related to the nature, to the society, to the surrounding in which we are connected. And we have to develop the inner and the outer reception to be connected to that. And therefore we need training, we need a knowledge, we need it's a discipline. Everything what you talked about, it's a wonderful concept, just to find a way inside this situation in which we are, and how Koffi is practicing the animist religion on the one hand, but translating this into an art context in Europe, in our world. I think it's a very similar experience we can do. We can live with him on stage, and I hope that we have the chance to see that again in Berlin. Do you want to answer?
Yeah. I was going to ask him a question. Hello. You know, you are talking about getting into this kind of third body, and where there is, you know, is that experience something, you know, free from your concepts and thoughts?
It's not. It's like you cannot be and don't be. If you, of course, if you have the knowledge to go there, and then after, when I get a chance to be a dancer, and the dance have a lot of relation with this, with the prayer, with the celebrate, the ceremony is in the training also. This is before is calm, but I cannot formulate it. Is my maestro who formulate it, who control all. But now, when I can formulate it, I come to be a little maestro. And then I start to share this with, because this you cannot learn in dance class, you cannot learn in school, you cannot not learn from one teacher. You can learn the technique of the dance from the teacher, but this moment where the dance comes, but there are one exception who is good. I don't forget this. There are one exception who were certain person who, like many person ask himself if I am spiritual or what is spiritual or what, but they are spiritual. You can see inside them how they are and how they. This is what I say the right spiritual, because the spiritual is not only to, like you say before, in the life is how you comport, you deal with the life, how you do, and how you have the understanding around you, and then around everybody. This is, for me, is one part of the spirituality. Each person needs to know, no? But of course, this you cannot. This can happen for certain people and certain dancers also, with only because they work honestly with the dance, and they want to give his dance for everybody and for the universe. This can happen also with certain dancers. I used to see this also. Don't get the training, but this they get in one moment, and certain moment when they come back, they don't know what they do during this moment. But when you get the training, you can decide to go and decide to come and to stop. And reflection by reflection, I started to work and to reflect also with Johannes to how to what words to put on. In a traditional way, during the ceremony in Africa, I would like to invite you in Benin. You all, no? We think the energy and the energy go by principle. Male or female. You can be a man and have female principle, and be female and have male principle. Now is how to make the harmony of this, because we all, like you say, we are not right, we are not left. It's the same. It's because the right exists, we think the left exists. It's the same with the principle. When the principle female come in a dance and come to represent something to say something come from the man. Yes, we receive. We receive to understand what he come to say. Vice versa. Yeah. This is functioned like this, and also in my spirituality, in my religion, sometimes is when sometimes you see the poor people, what we can call poor people, and to be the king or queen for 1 week. This is something who make the balance in the community, because to be the king, normally need to be for everybody, to be good, and to have the harmony inside can be for everybody, but it's not always like this. But sometimes, yes. When the people research, because there are 2 points. One, don't know, and one day walk, and you are there. Yes, I discover. Yes, what is this and what is talk? Mm-hmm. You know? One friend of you, or one friend say, you know, this maestro is very good man. He have a lot of knowledge. You can come with me. Come with me, and then we come to you. Yeah. And then is the way of to feel what is up of us, because for the human beings is the problem. I think for all the human beings is to believe they are one up of us, and more we are clear, we approach this le très haut, more we are yes, we training, we leave all the superficiality we have, and certain disarticulated from the mind and from the character, or from the, I don't know, from what the life bring you to live. There one man who come in the life, who married and have a wife, But always when he have a child, the child dead with her wife. Always, always, always. And this man go say, now I am tired. I don't know what I do for the God to live like this. And then he leave the house and he say he want to know the vérité, la vérité, the truth. And then he go many years to know the truth. And when he come back, because in his way he get the knowledge, and when he come back, he have one child. He live in the belly for his wife, and the child is grow up. When he come back after many years, and he thinks, oh, they are the men in my house, no? And the woman said, no, it's your son. And he said, yes. Okay, I find what I follow in my life. This, I think, is a certain part of the philosophy of the spirituality. I believe more this also because I am always comment dire, même avec ma propre religion, je suis tout le temps aussi en train de régler ce qui est, ce que moi je pense peut-être qui est bien, et d'abandonner le superficiel.
Even in relationship to my own religion, I'm always in the process of deciding, of choosing what I find is right or what I want to leave behind, what I just want to throw out, so to say.
Thank you very much. I think we got a lot of very enriching ideas of what the reality, Wirklichkeit, we say in German, what Wirklichkeit could be, how strongly it's related to our concepts in our cultures, and how open is the area between our different experiences and to exchange them. And I think this was a wonderful moment. I have the impression we are just starting. So it's, but it's, I think, the right moment to finish here. We are around. Julia, is the bar open or? Yeah, the bar will be opened again. And I thank you very much for coming and taking your time here, but especially Rinpoche and Koffi Kôkô. Thank you very much for taking your time and giving your ideas and your thoughts and your deep knowledge for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for you, Johannes.